Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys. Welcome into the morning's live. Today is Monday, the 18th of December of 2023, and today we are going to be reading. Today we are going to be reading from Ezekiel chapters 8 and 9. Now, this morning, I want to say thanks to everybody who has been coming into the live, into the channel. I sincerely appreciate all your responses, the thumbs up, the shares, and just the communication between us. I sincerely appreciate it. And I want to say thanks to everybody. Everybody who has stopped by, those of you who are new, a very special welcome to you. And to all my returning travelers, I want to say thank you for your continued support. Now, a few days ago, we started the reading of the book of Ezekiel. And Ezekiel is another interesting character amongst the Jewish prophets. Ezekiel has come forth with his version of prophecies. And it seems to me that every prophet comes with their own version of prophecies in order to stand out, in order to be different from the person before them, in order to get the Jewish people to believe that they are the most authentic of all the prophets. We saw Jeremiah, of course. You all know I talk about him all the time because he was one of those people. You know, if you read the words of Jeremiah, you will see how conniving and a curl he was. Now we are on to Ezekiel, and Ezekiel has come with his brand of prophecy that is also causing the Jewish people to be, no wonder they were confused, because I would be confused. I wouldn't know which way to go either, because they have the teachings from their foreparents that says do this, do that. They are the commandments, plus they had over 700 other precepts and principles that they had to live by. Yet the only thing their prophets preached for them was death and destruction. They disobeyed. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. There wasn't any grace being extended. There wasn't any forgiveness. There wasn't any love, any peace. Now, y'all remember when we were reading back in Exodus, Leviticus, when we were reading earlier on, at least the first 5 books of the Bible. When we were reading those books of the Bible, I saw where the Jewish God seemed to have been for the Jewish people. There was a lot of talk about accumulating wealth, growing, conquering. Those were what were included in the first 5 books. After that, all the prophets that came up after that and spoke of their experiences and how God talked to them, do you notice that they all claim that the only thing God can tell those people to do is to tell the people how much death and destruction is going to take them. And it has baffled me, like, why? Why would they be against their own people? Because these are all Jewish prophets, and all they are preaching is death and destruction. That's all Jeremiah preached. That's the only thing God told Jeremiah he was going to do for the Jewish people, was destroy them, send them into slavery, cause them to die by the sword, by famine, and by pestilence. That's all he preached. And that was why King Jehoiakim destroyed the scroll that was written by Baruch but narrated by Jeremiah, because the people were fed up. Like, the king even said it, why does everything that you preach to us is against us? Everything you prophesy is against us. He claimed that God told him. So that would say to me that their God has abandoned them. Their God has turned his back on them. If all they can get from their God is death and destruction. But he loves you. Really? Very odd, right? Now we move on over to Ezekiel. And boy, Ezekiel has come out quite strong. In Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 11 through 13, Ezekiel says, the Lord, tell him now, no, the Lord has told him that the people should make cakes out of human doo-doo, out of the excrement, the feces of a man. Don't say Trev said it. Let us read it together. Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 11 says, thou shalt drink. Now this is, according to Ezekiel, this is the Lord speaking to him. Thou shalt drink also water by measure, the sixth part of a hin. From time to time shalt thou drink, and thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung. You all know what dung is. With dung that comes out of a man. Out of man. Dung that comes out of man. You know, when they use man so collectively, it means humans. And you shall eat it with dung that comes out of man in their sight. And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, where I will drive them. Now, that part hit me a little bit harder, and I guess that's the intent, that each of the Jewish prophets come out with something more extravagant, more extra. I don't even think extravagant is the right word, but it is for me right now. Everybody comes out with something more sensational, something more shocking. It seemed like this was the first kind of soap opera, or the first kind of blogging, because everybody, all these people coming up with something more sensational to see if they can get more attention. But we're going to continue reading this morning. We are going to move right along. We are going to continue reading everything else that Ezekiel, it says the Lord told him and the Lord revealed to him. So come along with me, guys. Get your book Bible or your Google Bible, whichever one. And we do not move forward without our preface. I do not endorse any particular religion or any particular denomination on my channel. No siree. What I do is I read the Bible. I'm reading the Bible for myself so that I can be aware of its contents and I can get the context of its contents. And on that journey, I have decided to take you all along with me. So I'm reading so you all can follow along and or listen along. All right, so we are on to Ezekiel chapter 8. So let's begin. And it came to pass, wait, let me adjust the light. Okay. Come on with me, guys. Let us do this together. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in my house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a lightness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins, even downwards. Now remember, Ezekiel in the earlier chapters said he had a vision of somebody coming out of the clouds with amber from the waist up and fire from the waist down. Now here you say again, then I beheld, and lo, a lightness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins, even downwards, fire, and from his loins upwards, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. Now remember, he had seen this image before. Now he's seeing this image again. And he put forth the form of a hand, and took me by a lock of my head. All right. So there is no doubt that Ezekiel, if Ezekiel had a lock of his hair, what that tells you? That Ezekiel was probably, well, not probably, was a Rasta man. All right. Let us continue. He took me by a lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looks towards the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoked to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now the way towards the north. So I lifted up mine eyes the way towards the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. This image of jealousy. Image of jealousy. Verse 6. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do? Even the great abominations that the house of Israel commits here. that I should go far off from my sanctuary. But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Verse 8. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had dug in the wall, behold, there was a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do there. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men. 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. And in the midst of them stood Jezaniah, the son of Shaphan. Jezaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Now, this is supposed to be some kind of mural on a wall, because certainly this was not the people actually being there. And since he said it was people of old, that means that it was a drawing. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery? For they say, The Lord sees us not. The Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was towards the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Women weeping for Tammuz. Verse 15. We'll find out who is Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. So here it seems as though the Jewish people had drawn some kind of a mural on a hidden wall. And now Ezekiel is saying the Lord has directed him to knock down a concealing wall so that he could see this mural. And here he says the Lord is telling him that this is what the ancient people did, thinking that he was not able to see them. Now in verse 15, Ezekiel says, Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. So this was supposed to be considered to be one of the abominable acts of the people, the ancient people. And he brought us into the inner courts of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their hands towards the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east. And they worshipped the sun towards the east. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch of their nose. They put the branch to their nose. Verse 18. Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. Now, when you all listen to this and hear, this is Ezekiel claiming that the Lord has spoken to him, and these are the words that the Lord told him. Another evidence of a lack of grace, a lack of empathy, a lack of, should I say, peace, lack of love. This is how all these prophets portray their God, as a angry, violent person who you dare not cross. You dare not do anything against what he says you should do, or else death and destruction shall be your reward. Here Ezekiel is saying the Lord has told him in verse 18 of chapter 8, therefore I will also deal in fury, mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. And this is not new. I know a lot of people who accept their fate if they are poor, if they find themselves in serious situations, in any kind of human predicament, in poverty, whatever it is, they try to justify it and say it's God's will. If God didn't want me to be poor, I wouldn't be poor. And to me, that is a slave's mentality. The Jewish people did not want to be slaves to this kind of anger. And that's why I believe they continued to seek peace somewhere else. They continued to search for a place, a community that would accept them as they are, as humans. They could live their lives. There was no threat of death and destruction if they did anything, if they committed any religious sin. And that was why when Jeremiah tried to tell the remnants of the people that were left in Jerusalem after Nebuchadnezzar destroyed it, when they wanted to go to Egypt for peace, Jeremiah said, God told him to tell them wherever they went. They said, well, we don't care. We have nothing to do with you, because all you preach is death and destruction anyway. And before you came, we were here baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven and living our lives. And there were none of these threats of death and destruction. We were living in peace. And now here you come preaching death and destruction, and then Nebuchadnezzar come and destroy our place. And now we have to be running around trying to find another place to live in peace. We don't want to hear nothing from you. And I believe that if Jeremiah lived in today's society, it wasn't going to be for long. It wasn't going to be for long. Believe me. Because if anybody should come up these days and start to preach and claim to be a prophet, and all they preached was death and destruction for the people, it wouldn't go well. Anybody gonna lay down and fall for that? All this death and destruction? No, people tell you can keep on preaching your death and destruction. We are going to continue doing what we want to do. So you alone stay over there so and preach your death and destruction. And even in today's society, people are preaching, and they're not preaching with love and grace. Everybody's preaching hellfire gonna come and burn you up and all these things. This fear tactic. And it's the same kind of fear tactic that was being used by the Jewish prophets against the Jewish people. And that's why the people then left and went about their business. Like, they were like so over it. They were so over the death and destruction. And these prophets were ensuring that the death and destruction came along because they were conspiring with the enemies to destroy their own people, because they wanted to prove that what they said was going to happen would happen. So these were like some narcissistic people. I tell you that this place is going to be taken over by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is going to come in and break down this place. He's going to come in and he's going to destroy this place. But never mind, it is your God who is going to make him do this, because your God told me that he's going to use Nebuchadnezzar to destroy you. Now think about it, people. The Lord tell me to tell you that he's going to use the enemy to destroy you. And the Lord tell me to tell your people who have moved away and gone that they should come back closer and set up their houses and their thrones right here. So, if Jeremiah was for the Jewish people, I was prophesying for his people. If God said to him, I am going to use the enemy Nebuchadnezzar to destroy Israel, to break it down, slay the people, take them in bondage, how come at the same time you say God tell you to tell all the Jewish kings and nobles that had moved away that they should come back to Jerusalem? Talk to me, people, and tell me if it is me. God and we some are here. Bless up yourselves, my people. How are y'all doing? Now, I'm trying to think as practically as I can. If God, and I'm going back to Jeremiah because I'm showing you how these so-called prophets were conniving and cruel, and they contributed to the destruction of Israel. You want to know no enemy? It was all orchestrated by these Jewish prophets. Look at Jeremiah. Jeremiah said God told him to call all the Jewish nobles, princes and kings and whoever they were who had moved away. Call them to come back to Jerusalem and to set up their thrones round about Jerusalem. He said, God tell him so. So he called the people, tell him that God said them to come back. And in the same breath, he preached that God told him that Nebuchadnezzar is going to come and destroy Israel. So that means, say, God has set up the Jewish people. All right, me I go burn down this particular community. But hear what? Call all the people who have moved away from here and tell them, say, God said them to come back, come live here. They should come back to live here, even though I'm also prophesying that the community is going to be burnt. So everybody must come back, come make sure so them get there. They get burnt in the fire that is going to rain upon this place. Does that make sense? So that means Jeremiah was essentially telling the people, God tell him to bring the people them back so that they could be sitting ducks for Nebuchadnezzar. So that would ensure that Nebuchadnezzar would be able to destroy more of them in one horrible swoop. He would be able to destroy more of them. And that sounded like something that their God wanted for them. Death and destruction. When according to Abraham and Jacob, their God preached growth and prosperity for the Jewish people. That no sound right to me. And then here comes Ezekiel. Said God show him one wall that the people had drawn all that they were worshipped. Said they worshipped the sun to the east. That's one of the things they were doing. And the Lord was supposedly very angry at the people. And so in verse 18 of chapter 8, he says, he will not spare not one of them to live. He will not have any pity on them. He's going to destroy them one and all. And they're going to be crying to him, but he will not hear them. So if God destroying them and their enemy is destroying them, who is standing up for them? Ezekiel chapter 9. Follow along with me, guys, in your book Bible or your Google Bible. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lies towards the north. And every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he sat, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 5. And to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have he pity. Why? Why, Lord? Why? Let's read it again. Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So put a mark on the forehead. Mark their forehead, the ones that cry for the abomination. But the others, he said in my hearing, Go ye after him through the city and smite them. Let not your eyes fear, none of them have no pity. So that means the people who cry, who are upset. This is almost like politics. This is almost like some garrison stuff, where go to the city and everybody who you see are wear green, smite them. But the one them who you see wearing orange, let them stay. Leave them, but have no mercy on the ones wearing green. Does that sound quite garrison-like to y'all people? That the Lord would send out these people into the city, and anybody who is grieving because of the abominations that have been committed, those people should remain alive. But the ones who are happily participating or contributing to it, slay them and have no pity. Verse 6 says, Slay utterly old and young, both maids and let me clean my throat here. So it's the Bible reading. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. So do not slay any man who has the mark on his forehead. And begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, Defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. God, them say, tell these men, these now are Jewish men. These are not strangers. These are not enemies. These are not enemies from afar off. These are enemies within. And God, them say, God tell them, say, them fi slay every man, woman, maid, and child who not have one mark on them forehead to prove that they are against the abomination that the Jewish people are committing against their God. Mighty God. This is what Ezekiel has written. Say, oh God, tell them to do that. What anger? This anger is so overwhelming. This kind of anger would to me be like cold-blooded murderers who just go around and they do not care who they slay. They just indiscriminately just slay everybody who comes in their path. It's like somebody going out with an automatic weapon into a crowd, into a city, and just slaying everything that they see move. And they say this is their God. Tell them to do this. But I bet you the next word is going to be, but he loves you. But he loves you. Let us continue. My God. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. When some say, look, I got to come back and mark on the fire. I mean, what are they gonna mark people for? What are they gonna mark people for? To say you believe, or what is it that's going to make one person more worthy to continue living than another person? Here in Ezekiel chapter 9, what made someone worthy to be left alive is because they expressed dissatisfaction with the people committing the abominations. So that would make it justified for them to be allowed to live. But the ones who did not see it as a problem or did not care about it enough, those ones were slain. Where is the grace? Where is the coming together? Where is the meeting of the minds? Where is the advocate for peace, for love? Where is that? I do not get that feeling from reading this Bible. I don't get the feeling of forgiveness, love, and grace coming from this Lord. That's not how they portray him in the book. Was that intentional? I don't know. But it's not come to me if you find out that you have done wrong, you have done something that is against the teachings of your elders, come to me and we can talk about it. I will forgive you. There is none of that. There is just death and destruction. Verse 7. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth, and they slew the city. And it came to pass, while they were slaying the people, and I was left, that I fell upon my face. So this is Ezekiel. While they were slaying everybody else, I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried and said, O Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in thy pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then said he unto me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceedingly great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, the Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord sees not. And as for me also, mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their ways upon their heads. Verse 11. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. I hear that. Remember, remember over here in Ezekiel chapter 9, he said that there were 6 men. Let me read it for you again. Verse 1, 2, 3. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lies towards the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. That means every man had his sword in his hand. And one man among them was wearing linen, and that man had a writer's inkhorn by his side. That would be like you coming in as the documenter, the secretary who is going to write down what happened. So this man who was wearing the linen, he was carrying the ink and the scroll, because he was going to be the one to document what was happening. So here, the Lord sent them on a murderous rampage and sent the journalists to document all these murders. Ain't that something? Think about it. Think about it. I am not here to convince anybody either or thither when it comes on to their Bible. I am not here to tell anybody whether or not their Bible is right or wrong. That is not my objective here. My objective is to read the Bible so that we can all come together and understand the context of the Bible, because after all, the Bible is so influential in our lives. It does behoove us to know what is in it. And many people have not read it, so they don't know what's in it. So I've taken it upon myself to read it for us so we can all be aware of its contents. And boy, every day we are being blown away more and more, every single day. But that's where we're going to end for this morning. When we come back tomorrow, we will continue to read the book of Ezekiel and all his prophecies against the Jewish people. That's going to be the end of this morning's readings, my friends. Until next time, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters. And once again, I want to say thanks to everybody who came into the live, Sister Winsome and Sister Cod. Thanks to you all. I sincerely appreciate you. We will meet again. Oh, I should read this book. Chapter 3 of this book. We will meet again in the morning. Until then, my friends, have yourselves a great Monday.